In addition to the United States Constitution, the federal government does have some laws on the books that put limits on or protect the electoral process across the country. The one that most people are familiar with is the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which has over the years been amended and extended and is still in effect across the country. That protects the rights of racial and language minority voters across the country to cast ballots. Fairly complicated, enforced by the Department of Justice, but really is one of the bedrock federal laws dictating terms and putting parameters on state and local election administration across the country. The Voting Rights Act is aimed at protecting the rights first of racial minorities, specific racial minorities, African Americans, Latinos, Asian Americans, Native Americans, and depending on where you live, the federal government either oversees the process and can have, in many ways, the last word on whether or not a new election law can be enforced, or can come in through its litigation power to make sure that election laws are being enforced fairly to racial minorities. In addition, and it's relatively new in the last couple decades, the Voting Rights Act also protects the rights of language minorities. If there are a large enough community of non-English speaking voters in a jurisdiction, they are entitled to have not just ballots, but election materials and even poll worker assistance in their native tongue. And that, in some ways, has been a very active area of enforcement for the United States Department of Justice over the years. And in fact, you get a feel for how diverse the United States has become when you see how many different languages are being protected in how many different places. You have East Asian languages in Michigan. You have Hmong here in Minnesota. The county of Los Angeles in California, I believe, is up to 10 languages that it must assist voters. So language minority protection is a very important part of the Voting Rights Act across the country.